Imagine a leader who could stir the hearts of millions with a single speech. A man who returned to his homeland after conquering the West, only to inspire a nation on the brink of awakening. In this chapter, we journey with Swami Vivekananda as he electrifies India with his powerful words, urging his countrymen to rise above despair and reclaim their spiritual heritage. Witness the fiery speeches, the grand welcomes, and the unforgettable moments that defined his return. This is the story of a monk who vowed to shake India to her very core. On the third day after his arrival, Swami Vivekananda was honored in a public meeting on behalf of the people of Madras. As Victoria Hall, chosen for the purpose, was too small to hold the large crowd, the people cried for an open-air gathering. The Swami came out and addressed them from the top of a coach. It was, as it were, Sri Krishna standing in the chariot, exhorting Arjuna to give up his unmanliness and measure up to his Aryan heritage. In a brief speech, he told the people how India, through her love of God, had expanded the limited love of the family into love of country and of humanity. He urged them to maintain their enthusiasm and to give him all the help he required to do great things for India. During his short stay in Madras, Swami Vivekananda gave 4 public lectures, his subjects being My Plan of Campaign, The Sages of India, Vedanta in its application to Indian life, and the future of India. In these lectures he reminded the Indians of both their greatness and their weakness, and urged them to be proud of their past and hopeful for their future. While speaking on My Plan of Campaign, the Swami exposed the meanness of some of the theosophists who had tried their utmost to injure his work in America but later claimed that they had paved the way for his success in the New World. He told the audience that when in desperation he had cabled to India for money, the theosophists had come to know about it, and one of them had written to a member of the society in India, "Now the devil is going to die." God bless us all. But it must be said that there were many among the theosophists, especially in India, who were his genuine well-wishers. Swami Vivekananda had hardly a moment's respite during his 9 days in Madras. When asked by a disciple how he found the strength for such incessant activity, he answered, "Spiritual work never tires one in India." But he would lose patience if asked about matters that had no bearing on practical life. One day a pandit asked him to state clearly whether he was a dualist or a non-dualist. The Swami said, "As long as I have this body, I am a dualist, but not otherwise. This incarnation of mine is to help put an end to useless and mischievous quarrels, which only distract the mind and make men weary of life, and even turn them into skeptics and atheists." Meanwhile, heartwarming letters had been arriving from America, informing the Swami of the progress of the Vedanta work in the New World under the leadership of Swami Sharadananda, and also in appreciation of his own achievements. One letter was signed by Louis G. Janes, president of the Brooklyn Ethical Association, C. Everett, dean of the Harvard Divinity School, William James and Josiah Royce, both professors of philosophy at Harvard University, Mrs. Sarah C. Bull of Boston, and others. It said, "We believe that such expositions as have been given by yourself mere speculative interest and utility, that they are of great ethical value in cementing the ties of friendship and brotherhood between distant peoples, and in helping us to realize that solidarity of human relationship and interests which has been affirmed by all the great religions of the world. We earnestly hope that your work in India may be blessed in further promoting this noble end, and that you may return to us again with assurances of fraternal regard from our distant brothers of the great Aryan family, and the ripe wisdom that comes from reflection and added experience and further contact with the life and thought of your people." Another letter from Detroit, signed by 42 of his friends, said in part, "We Western Aryans have been so long separated from our Eastern brothers that we had almost forgotten our identity of origin. Until you came, and with your beautiful presence and matchless eloquence rekindled within our hearts the knowledge that we of America and you of India are one." Swami Vivekananda, after his strenuous work in South India, needed rest. On the advice of friends, he decided to travel to Kolkata by steamer. Monday, February 15th, was the date of his sailing. Several devotees boarded the steamer to see him off, and one of them, Professor Sundararama Iyer, asked the Swami if his mission had achieved lasting good in America and Europe. The Swami said, "Not much. I hope that here and there I have sown a seed which in time may grow and benefit some at least." Swami Vivekananda's lectures delivered during his progress from Colombo to Madras were inspiring and enthusiastic. He yearned to awaken the masses of India from the slumber of ages. He had seen the dynamic life of the West. He now felt more deeply the personality of India, which only needed his fiery exhortation to assert itself once more among the nations of the world. Again, one is reminded of Krishna's admonition to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. "In this crisis, O Arjuna, whence comes such lowness of spirit, unbecoming to an Aryan, dishonorable, and an obstacle to the attaining of heaven? Do not yield to unmanliness, O Arjuna, it does not become you. Shake off this base faint-heartedness and arise, O scorcher of enemies." In his famous lecture, My Plan of Campaign, delivered in Madras, he called upon the people to assert their soul force, "My India, arise." Where is your vital force? In your immortal soul. Each nation, like each individual, has one theme in this life, which is its center, the principal note round which every other note comes to form the harmony. If any nation attempts to throw off its national vitality, the direction which has become its own through the transmission of centuries, that nation dies. In one nation, political power is its vitality, as in England. Artistic life, in another, and so on. In India, religious life forms the center, the keynote of the whole music of the national life. And therefore, if you succeed in the attempt to throw off your religion and take up either politics or society, the result will be that you will become extinct. Social reform and politics have to be preached through the vitality of your religion. Every man has to make his own choice, so has every nation. We made our choice ages ago, and it is the faith in an immortal soul. I challenge anyone to give it up. How can you change your nature? He asked the Indians to stop complaining. Let them make use of the power that lay in their hands. That power was so great that if they only realized it and were worthy of it, they could revolutionize the world. India was the Ganga of spirituality. The material conquests of the Anglo-Saxon races, far from being able to dam its current, had helped it. England's power had united the nations of the world. She had opened paths across the seas so that the waves of the spirit of India might spread until they had bathed the ends of the earth. What was this new faith, this word that the world was awaiting? The other great idea that the world wants from us today, more perhaps the lower classes than the higher, more the uneducated than the educated, more the weak than the strong, is that eternal grand idea of the spiritual oneness of the whole universe. The only infinite reality that exists in you and in me and in all, in the self, in the soul, the infinite oneness of the soul, that you and I are not only brothers but are really one, is the eternal sanction of all morality. Europe wants it today, just as much as our downtrodden races do. And this great principle is even now unconsciously forming the basis of all the latest social and political aspirations that are coming up in England. In Germany, in France, and in America, extracts from the lecture, The Mission of the Vedanta. What Swami Vivekananda preached was the essence of the non-dualistic Vedanta, the deepest and the unique expression of India's spirit. I heard once the complaint made that I was preaching too much of Advaita, absolute non-dualism, and too little of dualism. I know what grandeur, what oceans of love, what infinite ecstatic blessings and joy there are in dualistic religion. I know it all, but this is not the time for us to weep, even in joy. We have had weeping enough. No more is this the time for us to become soft. This softness has been with us till we have become like masses of cotton. What our country now wants is muscles of iron and nerves of steel, gigantic will which nothing can resist. which will accomplish their purpose in any fashion, even if it means going down to the bottom of the ocean and meeting death face to face. That is what we want, and that can only be created, established, and strengthened by understanding and realizing the ideal of Advaita, that ideal of the oneness of all. Faith. Faith. Faith in ourselves. If you have faith in the 330 millions of your mythological gods, and in all the gods which foreigners have introduced into your midst, and still have no faith in yourselves, there is no salvation for you. Have faith in yourselves and stand upon that faith. Why is it that we 330 millions of people have been ruled for the last 1,000 years by any and every handful of foreigners? Because they had faith in themselves, and we had not. I read in the newspapers how, when one of our poor fellows is murdered or ill-treated by an Englishman, howls go up all over the country. I read and I weep, and the next moment comes to my mind the question of who is responsible for it all. Not the English, it is we who are responsible for all our degradation. Our aristocratic ancestors went on treading the common masses of our country underfoot till they became helpless. Till under this torment the poor people nearly forgot that they were human beings. They have been compelled to be merely hewers of wood and drawers of water for centuries, so that they are made to believe that they are born as slaves, born as hewers of wood and drawers of water, extracts from the mission of the Vedanta. In our next episode, we will dive into one of Swami Vivekananda's most impassioned periods, a time when his words echoed across India, calling her sons and daughters to rise and reclaim their heritage. We will witness how he challenged the leaders, inspired the youth, and laid down his vision for a united, awakened nation. Get ready to experience the power of his speeches that moved millions as we continue our journey into the life of Swami Vivekananda. Thank you for listening till the end. Please subscribe, turn on the notifications, like, comment, and share with your friends. This will help more listeners to discover our channel and content.